What's up, guys? Nolan here again today. Going to be talking about the Wargame RedDragon Ash&Shadows mod that is being set up currently by a man named Spectre on the Eugen forums. I will leave a link in the description to the page where you can actually download the mod for yourselves and also show Spectre some love because he's putting a ton of work into this mod, and you guys will soon find out exactly how much work because he puts updates up pretty much every single day with either a balance or one little unit tweak or new units in general. Anyway, I'm going to be trying keeping this video as quick as possible, and I will be going through all of the new units, and I will also show you the stats for each of the new units. So overall changes, we have longer AA, longer range seed, new units for each nation, no more East Germany, and I can talk a little bit more about that later, increased availability for both cards and the units on the cards, upgraded weapons and armor for most of the units, if not all of the units. Biggest changes being if a certain tank has a certain weapon, it's going to be about the same. Like, for instance, I think it's 102, one of the 102s on the Abrams. They pretty much have all around the same damage. Obviously, some of them are better. The more expensive ones are better. For the more expensive Abrams are a little bit better with AP values and accuracy and whatnot. Or else we would only be running around with like one or two tanks if they all had the same gun. There are changes, and you'll see that. Also, for infantry, a lot of them have better machine gun squads, or just machine guns in the squads. You'll see that the U.S. infantry have a lot of the M240s. They'll see a lot of higher caliber machine guns across the board, really. And then also for Red 4, even though I'm only doing Blue 4 in this video, you'll see that they have Dishkas for most of their infantry. The biggest disappointment is that you cannot get new textures. A good example would be the Challenger Brimstone, where you can make it change the color a little bit to have it be a different color, but when you look at the Challenger Brimstone, it's not a Challenger, it is just a Stormer with some ATGMs on top. It won't look like a Challenger because we cannot change the textures. Eugen does not have any mod tools that let you change the models in game. You can change, I keep saying textures, but what I mean to say is models. You can't change the models in game because you can't change how they look. What you can do is you can change how they their color. You can change their color. You make if it's a green tank, you can make it fucking purple if you want. It doesn't matter. You can change the texture, but you cannot actually change the model. You cannot make the Brimstone Challenger look like a Brimstone Challenger because we cannot change the models at the moment. Also, the other thing is that you cannot take out or add any new units. You'll see that East Germany is now out of the game because he took all of the units that was in East Germany and moved them to basically all the other nations in order to give them more tanks, more units in general, and then they will also have the models of the East German units and the card fronts of the East German units, but they're going to be different. It's going to be in a different nation because in this time frame where nowadays it's modern, East Germany doesn't exist anymore, so you might as well take East Germany out anyway. But you'll see that in the next video. Now going to NATO, we're going to start off with the U.S. Across the board, we have price changes, availability changes, weapon changes, range changes, just across the board. Just want to make sure to point that out. Pretty much everything has changed. It's completely redone. For infantry, we have Javelin squads. We have good Delta Force now with the Javelins. We have new Stingers, new Rifleman 05s with better AT, as well as the new M240 Bravos for actually each squad instead of, I think it was a SAW last in the regular. We also have new Marines with better AT and the Marine Raiders. For transports, we have the Namer, which is like a badass transport. It's like a super armored transport that you guys would probably notice from Armor 3, or you'd recognize from Armor 3. With grenade launchers, we have Strikers, one armed and one not so armed. We have the M1206 and the M1126 Strikers. We have the Super Huey. We have the M2A3 ECP-1 Bradley IFV, which is pretty much just a faster Bradley, not too much to change other than the speed. And we also have the Darkhawk, which is a stealth Black Hawk. You guys that were keeping up with the Osama bin Laden shit, then you'd know what a Darkhawk is. For support, we have the Slam Ram and the Linebacker and a new Patriot, as well as just across the board, like I said before, better range, better accuracy, better damage. Tanks, we have the Command Abrams, which is a logistics that is just a badass now. I remember using the Command Abrams before and it was kind of shitty, but now it has good armor, a really good gun. We have the new Tusk Abrams, the M1A1 Tusk, the FEP, the SEP, and the M62000. For recon, we have the Cav Scouts with Javelins, and we also have the Comanche. There are no new vehicles for the United States. For helicopters, they have better range on most of their weapons, including the Stinger. It's really just the Stingers for the DAPs and the OHs. We also have the new AH-6G Littlebird, as well as the AH-1Z Viper. For air, you'll see that just tons of just changes and just buffs across the board. All of the missiles have better range, better accuracy, better damage. We also have the new planes, which is the A-10, the new A-10, the F-35 Lightning II, the F-35B Lightning II, and the Nighthawk has a name change, but the payload hasn't actually changed. Stealth has is a big thing now. We also have the F-22 Raptor Jesus. Some planes could have electronic warfare pods that just jam the enemy AA, the radar AA. So what you're going to need to do if they just have the seed pods, the electronic warfare pods, you're going to have an ATGM plane kind of behind it or some kind of helicopter to come in and take out whatever seedable target you're trying to kill. Moving on to the UK. Same overall changes as before, different like better armor, better availability, better range, better damage across the board. No logistics changes, but for infantry we have the Anglian Regiment, the Rifles, Grenadier Guards, which is like Spetsnaz pretty much, Gurkha 10s, Javelins, and new Star Streak manpads, as well as a AT buff with SAS. For support, we have the overall changes with availability, range, damage, blah 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 stuff like. Pretty much, I'm going to stop saying that now because pretty much everything is changed for availability, range, and damage. Across the board, everything's gone up. And I'll just stick to the new units. We have the AMRAD, which is pretty much a badass automatic for the Brits. And we also have the Thor MMS. For tanks, we have the Challenger 2 LEP and the Challenger 2 Clip. For recon, we have the new Ferret with Javelins instead of whatever the old ATGM, the shitty ATGMs were. I don't think they were that shitty, but the Javelin's definitely better. We also have the SBS, which are basically Spetsnaz with the HE rocket launchers. We have the vehicle, the Challenger. I have it written down as a Chally. It's Challenger. Excuse me, Challenger Brimstone with the Brimstone ATGMs, but it's a Challenger chassis, which is a lot better armor. For helicopters, we have the Apache. I know a lot of people hated that the British don't get an Apache because they think they invented it or whatever. I think the British invented the longbow. Maybe they invented the Apache in general. I don't know. But they have an Apache now. They also have the Lynx 3 with better AA missiles. For air, they have the Harrier GR9 with the Brimstone ATGMs, and they also have the Tornado GR4, which is basically their equivalent of an A10. For France, basically nothing's changed for logistics. All the same changes with ability, price, range, damage. Yada yada, pretty much across the board. All the good stuff pretty much has changed. They offer new units in infantry. They have the Milan F3 ER, the ATGM MMP, Chasers 85, and Legion Pioneers. For support, they have the Hades SRBM. For tanks, they have the AMX-30B Furtif, the AMX-40E, and the new Leclercs, including the Leclerc 1, 2, and 11. No changes for recon vehicles and helicopters. For air, they have the crazy Mirage F1M bomber with 5,000 pound payload, and they also have a Mirage and a Raphael buff. For Germany, logistics is all the same. Infantry, they have the Gerbensjäger, the Fliegerfaust 3s, the KSK, which are pretty much Spetsnaz, and the Panzerjäger, which are just or Panzerjäger, or however you want to pronounce that, which are basically ATGM infantry with Milan F3s. For the new transports, they have a Puma, and they have the NH-90, which is basically like a Lynx and a CH-53 had a baby. It kind of looks like that. I'm sure you guys would recognize it if you saw it. For support, they have the Ocelot and the Patriot. For tanks, they have the 1A6, the 2A6, the 2A7 Plus, and the Leopard 2 140. No new recon. For vehicles, they have the new Weasels. For there's no new helicopters. And for the air tab, they have the Eurofighter Typhoon. For Canada, there are no logistics changes. For infantry, they have the Special Forces JTF2, and they also have the Starstreak manpad. There are no support changes, as well as recon, vehicle, and helicopter changes. For tanks, they get the 2A6, and for air, they get the CF-18F Super Hornet. For Denmark, they have no logistics changes. For infantry, and I know I'm going to butcher these names, but I'm just going to go ahead and try. They have the Constabler, however you want to pronounce that, I guess. They also have the Verntij. They also get the new Hummer transport. Well, it's not new, but it's new to them. They get a Hummer now. The automatic got a big buff for support. For tanks, they have the Leopard 2A5 DK. For recon, they have SSR and Patrol Kabanik Magnet. Hubity Scubity. No vehicles, no new helicopters. For air, they get the F-16 JSOW and the F-16 EC, which is a seed plane. Moving on to Sweden, there are no logistics changes. For infantry, they get the Sarkskilda, they get the Shark Killers. Sarkskilda Operation GRU. Whatever the fuck, however you pronounce that. Operation GRU. I guess that's it. I'll call them GRU. We'll call them Swedish GRU. For support, they got a Hawk buff, but other than that, nothing. For tanks, they got the STRV 122. Recon vehicles and helicopters have not changed. In the air, have just a general buffage with the range damage ECM. For Norway, logistics has not changed. Infantry just has general buffage. Support has the NASIMS 2. Tanks, you get the Leo 2A4 as well as the 2A5. And across the board, nothing else has changed. Just general buffage across the board with better range, better accuracy, better damage, stuff like that. Moving on to Australia. Australia got a lot of cool stuff. They got buffed in they got a lot of good buffs, a lot of good changes. But one of those is not logistics. Nothing has changed in logistics other than availability. Infantry, they got the Javelin, Mistrals, Harakai infantry, and Anzacs. For new transports, they get the Anslav 2A, I was going to say 2A5, the Anslav 25, which is like LAV. And they also have the MRH-90 Taipan, which is basically the same as the MH-90. Is it MH-90 or NH-90? One of those. For the Germans, it's the same helicopter. It's basically like a Lynx and a CH-53 had a baby. For support, they have the Mortar Storm and the Camel. For tanks, they have the M1A1 Abrams. No changes for recon. No changes for vehicles. For helicopters, they have the Tiger ARH, which is basically a Tiger had, but with Hellfires. Now for air, they get the Seed Plane, the F-18 Growler. They get the F-16C Kiwi, and they also get the FA-18F Super Hornet. For Japan, there are no logistics changes. For infantry, they have the CRF Special Forces and the LMAT ATGM. For support, they have the Patriot. For new tanks, they have the Type 10. For new recon, they have the JSDF 1st Airborne, which have Stingers and sniper rifles. There are no vehicle changes. For helicopters, they have the Apache. And for air, there are no huge changes. They just get a big buff for the F-15J. And last but not least, we have the Best South Korea, sorry. Best Korea, South Korea. Logistics, there are no changes. Infantry, just general buffage are all around with the new machine guns and range and damage and whatnot. They also get the new Red Eye Manpad. For support, it's just a Hawk Pip 3. And then just everything else, better range, whatnot. For tanks, they get the K2 as well as the K2 Pip. For recon, vehicle, and helicopters, it's just buffing, good buffing across the board for recon, vehicle, and helicopters. Definitely last but not least, or last but definitely not least, I should say, we have the Air Tab, which you have the F-15K Slam Eagle with those crazy JSOWs. The F-15 SE Silent Eagle, which is a stealth ASF fighter. And across the board, everything else is just buffed. So that's going to be it for the Blue 4 and or NATO forces, guys. I'm going to be doing a Red 4 video later, but make sure to go in the description. Obviously, if you're going to want to download the mod, if you haven't already, go show Spectre some love. He's doing a lot of work to this mod. This didn't happen overnight. He's doing updates pretty much every single day, whether it's a balance or a new unit or something. He's done a lot of work on this, and it's very difficult because Eugen does not really support the modders well. If at all, really. Also, more than usual, guys, I don't really ask for comments or whatever, but definitely leave any kind of feedback if you find any bugs, if you find anything wrong, if you think something's too overpowered or underpowered, or if you think this nation needs this unit or whatnot. Feel free to comment. feel free to leave it on the forums post that you see in the description. But obviously, you have to understand that it is still an opinion. If you believe that your Spetsnaz should go around with T-80 transports, then that's your opinion. It doesn't actually mean that's going to go in the game. It's just an idea, but if you think you have a good idea, feel free to leave it in the comment, leave it in the forum post, whatnot, anything like that. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I also hope that you have a nice day. See you guys.
Invincible.